Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffen. Joining me always, Blake Harrison. Hello.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right. Filming somewhere exotic. I see you in a hotel.
Yeah. Well, no, this is like a little apartment. They put me up in a little apartment. It's actually quite nice. I've swapped Belgium for Budapest now. I'm on a different job, so I'm very thankful for that, to have another job to go on to. But it does mean that I don't get to see your beautiful face in person and be in the studio eating all them Skittles. So just in Budapest, seeing what it's all like, really. My phone was supposed to be working abroad. It's not. So luckily I caught you and I'm on the Wi-Fi. So always a little bit of drama, but other than that, it's all good.
We're here and we're ready to go. And before we break down some of the big fights that are going to be happening this weekend in Perth in UFC 305, we should do a big shout out to Fat Candy. Fat Candy is one of our sponsors. They do freeze-dried sweets. We tag them in all of our posts. Go give them a follow. If you use the discount code SWEETMMA, it will also save you money. Go check them out. Freeze-dried sweets, if you've got kids or you've got a sweet tooth, then the chances are you've probably seen these things advertised all over TikTok. They're just going crazy at the moment. And when you taste them, you'll know why. It's all of your kind of old school sweets and all your kind of your Skittles and things like that, alongside your cola cubes and your drumsticks. But I'm presume they're putting some kind of great big vat of ice or something. I don't know. A freezer, I presume.
Really sell it there, Stu. Really sell it. Big vat of ice, don't I?
Basically, they just kind of sort of explode into these big lumps of sugary goodness. And you'll love them. So go try them and head over to Fat Candy. They're tagged in everything we do. Go give them a follow on the socials so they can see some traction from being involved in the MMA Fan Show. And remember that code SWEETMMA. Alongside them, Ferocious Fightwear. Blake Harrison, do you want me to pick this up? Because you look like you're still faffing around trying to...
I am. I'm faffing a little bit. I'm trying to get some Wi-Fi on my iPad. I'm just... It's just worked out. I should have my iPad Wi-Fi. But yes, so you can carry on, mate.
No worries,
well,
as you were. Ferocious Fightwear are a fightwear brand. They're based in Essex, but obviously they ship all over the world. And it's put together by a lovely young man that reached out to us. He popped down to our studio and introduced himself and showed us some of his wares, gave us some of his wares. So normally when we're in the studio, we'd be lifting up some of the rash guards or the shorts or the gum shields or the ham wraps, and they're all available now over on ferociousfightwear.com. And
Ferocious Fatwear, we
know that was that's the hybrid. You have too much Fat Candy, you need to go and shop there. And if you use the discount MMA Fan Show 15, that's MMA Fan Show 15. That will save you money on your order. Right. This Saturday, I mean, we don't really want to talk about last Saturday because it was not the best card. It wasn't the most exciting lineup. And to be honest, I think I sent you a little meme of someone's face looking at the fight, the Tibura fight that went down at the weekend, and then the other... Yeah. And then the other face was a very happy face because they knew that next week was Drikus Du Plessis.
Yeah, it was Killian Murphy Oppenheimer. I believe.
It was, yeah. And so we got Izzy and Drikus. It's been a while in the making, this, and the bad blood is there. I've not seen any recent media from them, so I presume they've been kept apart, but I'm presuming later this week there's going to be media obligations where I'm sure there'll be some... I don't know.
They did a sort of press conference. They did a sort of press conference a little while ago where they had them talking, and it was the one where Izzy mentioned he's taken up golf in his time off, and Drikus was like, I'm glad you've taken up golf because that's a retirement sport and you're going to be retired. So, which was quite a good line, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't seen a huge amount as of yet in terms of interactions between them outside that press conference that happened a little while ago.
Yeah.
But we know there's an awful lot of beef and issues that go on between the two of them. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that manifests itself in this week leading up to the fight. I think, do you feel like Izzy v. Drikus is doing pretty much all of the heavy lifting on this card? Am I being harsh?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but see, the thing is, we're obviously Brits, and when we had the Brit card, we was looking down it thinking this is, well, I said one of the if not the my favourite card of all time. I'm sure if you're from down under, you'll be looking down here and going, this is stacked with like all of the fighters that we love. But I think from somebody that's not got a huge vested interest in Aussie fighters, it's a pretty all right card. But in answer to your question, yes, I do believe that headline fight is probably carrying the ticket sales.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, Kai Kara France, Steve Erceg, I don't imagine the winner of that is getting a title shot yet, but
I was going to get round
maybe.
to that. When we talk about that, I was going to get round to that because, like,
okay, we talk about it, but Gamrot Hooker, like good fight, good names, but again, what's the storyline coming out of that? Going into it, there isn't really one. Title with Master Jairzinho Rosenstrike. Is there I mean, obviously, I know we're going to get into what we can try and draw out of it as a storyline or something of interest, but there's nothing leaping off the page. Whereas when you were thinking about, say, for example, the London card, or not London, sorry, Manchester card, you mentioned 2 title fights. One of them was, undisputed title, welterweight. Then you've got Tom Aspinall and everything he's doing, trying to get John Jones to fight and all that stuff, big storylines there. Paddy Pimblett, can he get a ranking? He's such a big name. He's caused a stir, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe outside of that, if you're not an English or a British MMA fan, then maybe you're not overly bothered. But I think that's already quite a lot. Whereas with this, as I say, I think it is. I think if this was a pay-per-view, I know it's not, but if this was a pay-per-view, I'd probably find myself spending 20 quid because I'm like, I need to see Drikus v. Izzy. But there's nothing about the rest of the card that would make me go, oh, I want to pay money to see this.
Well, broadly speaking, then about the whole of that main card, yes, all the fights that you've mentioned underneath the title fight probably haven't got huge implications on the division. Maybe Kai Erceg, but for me, Dan Hooker, Taito Ivasa, like what you're going to get is fun fights. And I think I'd give my money, because I know I'm going to get that on the undercard. I'm not worried if Taito Ivasa never fights for a strap. I don't think Dan Hooker's ever going to fight for a strap, but I would tune in to watch him every time he fights because he's never in boring fights.
No, that's fair enough. Sorry, I'm getting loads of alerts on my phone now because it's probably just gone, oh yeah, we have to work now. So yeah, all right. Well, I mean, I suppose the other big story, if we start getting into Drikus and Izzy now, what kind of Israel Adesanya are we going to see? Because he's not fought since the Strickland loss. And up until that point, he'd been incredibly active. One of the most active UFC champions we've probably ever seen. He lost to Strickland, and rather than doing what he did against, say, Pereira, where he lost and he was like, I want to avenge this straight away, and he came back and put on that phenomenal performance in their second fight. He loses to Strickland and he says, I need some time away. I need to listen to my body. I've been doing too many fights in a row. I need some time away. Does that time away, I know he's not been away like years, But does that create a fire for Izzy? Is he fresh? All those things? Or does it plant a slight seed of doubt? Because the last time he was in the octagon, he got absolutely handled by a guy that we all thought was levels beneath him. So I'm just wondering, what kind of Israel Adesanya are we going to see? Are we going to see someone that goes, fuck this, I'm coming forward, I've got something to prove, I've got beef with Drikus, all that kind of stuff? Or are we going to see that Israel Adesanya that we saw in the Yoel Romero fight or the Jared Cannonier fight, that is really, on the back foot, maybe doing he obviously won those fights, but very minimal action. What do you think we're going to see out of Izzy?
I think we're going to see Izzy on the back foot. I think Drikus is going to push forward. I think, look, I think if you would have asked me this 2 years ago, I would have just been like, well, Izzy's just going to, just do what Izzy does.
Yeah.
But what we've seen since then is Izzy lose. And obviously, Pereira on was avenged in style. But if you would have said to me a year or 2 years ago that Israel Adesanya was going to get beaten by Sean Strickland, I would have laughed. I don't know. I don't know what we're going to see. I mean, yes, he's had a layoff. Excuse me. I think that could be a good thing.
Yeah. You're right there. Granddad Whiffen, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, was the original gone down the wrong hole, is it?
It was, yeah.
He's been out of the cage for nearly a year, Adesanya, and that is, before that he was fighting 3-4 times a year.
Yeah, but there's not many champs that fight 3-4 times a year, and
no.
And to be honest, maybe he looked at Volk and maybe thought, I need to rest. I need to do what Volk's doing and take a bit of time out here because, I got lost by someone that I'm sure he thinks he should have beaten quite comfortably and easily. And I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see Drikus win.
Really? You got straight in with your prediction.
When I saw Drikus last time out with his new nose, because up until then it was like, yeah, Drikus has a round. If he ain't got you out there in a round, he's blowing. And when he said about the nose, it was like, yeah, whatever, mate. Feels like that's legit because he's got some go in him, and I don't think the beef's going to play into it too much. I think I don't think they're fighters that are going to get emotionally involved, and I don't see it. I think
really.
I think
Adesanya. Do you remember him going into the cage after DDP beat Robert Whittaker and the language he was using? He's very emotional when it comes to Drikus.
Yes, that sells fights, and I'm not suggesting that he didn't mean that for a second, but I think when it comes to getting in that octagon, he's too smart. He's not going to just go in there and just throw like a maniac. He's not going to do that. What we're not going to see in that first round is the bit that's going to get quoted and thrown back on me. What we're not going to see in that first round is him just go out there and try and finish him in a round. I just don't think Israel Adesanya is that fight up. He's too smart.
I don't know. See, the thing for me is
I love it.
Think. Well, yeah, I would love it. What I think is, I think sometimes Adesanya sort of reflects. He's a counter puncher, isn't he? A lot of the time. So I think he reflects what is in front of him. And when you think about the Yoel Romero and Jared Cannonier fights that I mentioned, those two are heavy hitters, they're dangerous punchers, but they didn't do much, which meant Izzy didn't do much. Whereas when you think of Kelvin Gastelum, the first fight with Whittaker, Paulo Costa, people like that, who came forward and tried to put it on Izzy a little bit, that's when he usually shows the best of himself. Now, Strickland obviously came forward, but he fights in such a weird way, and he rocked Izzy early. I don't know, but I wonder if Drikus comes forward, and I wonder if you're in Drikus' camp, you want to implement all aspects of MMA. You want to get the takedowns. You want to throw the strike. DDP striking can be very chaotic as well. he marauds forwards at time. And I think if you're Drikus, you probably want to be doing what Bilal Muhammad did to Leon Edwards. You want to be throwing hands, go for the takedown, back him up the fence, throw hands, go for the takedown, make it ugly. Don't give him room to breathe and time to think. But when fighters do that against such an elite level striker like Izzy, it might just open him up for counters. And we could see Drikus marauding forward with big, wild strikes. And Izzy just goes, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, Drikus is down.
You think there's a legit chance he could snipe him?
Yeah, but I can see it either way. That's what I'm saying. For me, the big question is what Israel Adesanya turns up. Because if the Israel Adesanya that beat the Paulo Costas and Rob Whitakers and Kelvin Gastelum's grave, that was a while ago now. If that guy shows up, but then the guy that beat Pereira in the second fight, if that guy shows up, I think Drikus is going to be in trouble. Because I think his striking will just leave too many openings. Izzy will have to just make sure he defends the takedowns well. That is one factor. But then Izzy will be able to get him with something. But if the Izzy that's the kind of back foot, minimal output, wait for the right moment Izzy turns up, he could get overwhelmed by Drikus and the way Drikus fights. And also, I do wonder if we've not seen the best of Drikus yet, which is crazy considering how well he handled Rob Whittaker. But I wonder if there could be more to him. I think he's pretty young. He's very athletic. He's now had the nose job, as you mentioned. Like, I feel like there's more. They say that when you become a champion, you get like 20% better and all these things. So I'm really fascinated by it. I mean, I hope the build-up doesn't get too dark, like what it did when they were talking about, the real African champion and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to have to deal with any of that as a fan if I can help it. But when it comes to just two guys that don't like each other, that have a score to settle and are both very good, I think this fight's absolutely fantastic. I cannot wait for it. And I really do think it could go either way.
Do you think we're going to get a flamboyant walkout from Izzy?
Oh, I hope so. I do love a good Izzy walkout. I mean, nothing's ever topped. Was it the Robert Whittaker one where he did the dance?
Yeah, that was unreal.
Yeah, that's probably the greatest walkout of all time, isn't it? That to me was just phenomenal. That walkout. He did the Undertaker thing. I think he had his weird chain with Pereira too, but no, for me, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he does something that is an homage or a callback to kind of his Nigerian heritage, because the fight is steeped in so much, how do you put it? Like, I don't know, like it stems from sort of racial provocation in some ways, you could say. I mean, I don't think Drikus would agree that's what it was. But
that was the first thing.
I wouldn't be surprised if Izzy comes out with either some kind of music or dance or, clothing that is of an homage or paying respect to his kind of Nigerian heritage or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me at all, but we will have to wait and see.
Okay, so I'm sure, obviously, post-fight we'll get into this in more depth, but so give me a name, right? So I just want a quick name, don't want reasons, right? Izzy wins. What's his next fight?
Well, Izzy wins. His next fight is... Depends what happens in Hamzat Whittaker. I'm going to say his next fight is Sean Strickland.
I agree.
Yeah. What if DDP wins?
I think Hamzat beats Bobby Knuckles.
If Hamzat wins, he's next. If Hamzat wins, he's next for either of them. And I'll tell you what, Izzy Strickland will be interesting because the last one, was it a fluke and all these things. Hamzat Izzy is... I mean, this was a question I had for you, is what's better for the division? What's better for the middleweight division? Seeing the returning star of Israel Adesanya, even though he's beat most of the division already, not Hamzat, obviously, but is it better for him to win or for Drikus to kind of start that run of I'm the new guy. To steal a phrase from Israel Adesanya, I'm the new dog in the yard. I'm owning this now. All that kind of stuff. What's better for the division, DDP or Izzy? Because DDP's not that many fresh matchups either, because he's beat Rob and he's beat Strickland. So what's the better thing for the division?
Well, undoubtedly it's Izzy, because if you get Izzy Hamzat, right, that's basically like a superhero movie. The marketing, just two absolute characters that will look on a poster. It will look great. I haven't got an issue with Drikus Du Plessis, but I don't think he's not box office, and he's great, and he's you can't question him. What he's done has been ridiculous, but I just think there's something about Israel Adesanya that's box office, and I think all the time that if he can win this, then I think it's going to put him with a strap around his belt again, and then the story continues to roll, and I think it will be a more marketable and interesting fan fights if Izzy gets there. Yeah,
I agree. I wonder if he'd move up to light heavyweight and chase like big legacy fight, like trilogy with Pereira or something quite quickly. Wonder if that might happen, because that's the kind of greatness. What more of if he was a 2-time, 3-time, he would be middleweight champ if he wins. What more is there to do in that division?
Well, he wanted that, didn't he? And he come short, didn't he?
Against Blachowicz,
yeah.
So we shall see. Should we move on to the co-main event?
Kaikar France, Steve Erceg at 125.
Look, I did a little bit of research on this, and if I'm wrong about this, I apologise, but I'm pretty sure this is correct. I looked it up the other day. Kaikar France hasn't fought for over a year. When Kai last fought, Steve Erceg was 1 week away from making his UFC debut.
Yeah.
How mental is that?
Yeah.
That is nuts. This sport goes so quickly.
Yeah.
Steve Erceg, in the year since Kaikar France's last fought, has done what Kaikar France couldn't do and fought for an undisputed UFC title.
Yeah.
Absolutely mental.
I think that, who was it that Erceg sparked before that gave him the shot?
Matt Chanel.
I mean, that's gonna rocket you up, the UFC's, books, because it was like, whoa, who's that unassuming dude that looks like Michael Scott that's just now all of a sudden like doing this? And Kaikar France, he's always in fun fights. So I'm a big fan of Kaikar France. I think it's
his last loss as well was controversial to Amir Albazi.
Yeah,
split decision, and a lot of people scored it for Kai.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting fight to make, because it makes sense, but to have the two Aussies fighting each other that are both on. I know obviously Erceg just come off a loss, and was it Kai's last fight that he lost against Albazi? Was that his last fight? Yeah. All right, so they're both coming off losses, but I don't know. Could you have made that card more interesting if you'd put, two other 125ers on there and had them both fighting? Or do you think that was purposely put there to?
No, I think it's a great fight. I've got nothing wrong with the fight. There was a point where Kaikar France Manel Cap was the fight to make, because they had beat, but Manel Cap's gone through all this whole.
I think Manel
Cap's with Makai. Manel Cap's gone beat with everyone. I think it's good. I think what I love about this fight actually is it's a really good measuring stick for Steve Erceg now, because Kai is the guy that seems to be a really good fighter, has beat a lot of really great opposition, but he seems to fall short against the big ones, against Brandon Moreno, against Brandon Royval. Maybe it's just guys called Brandon, I don't. But if Steve can beat Kaikar France, that makes me go, okay, Steve is definitely a top 5 guy, and he is definitely going to fight for a belt again in his career. But if he loses to Kaikar France, that to me says Steve will always struggle with the top 3 to 5, because I do think Kai has a slight ceiling, and it's just underneath champion. And I think if you were to do Kai v Pantoja, I'd favour Pantoja. Kai's lost to Royval. Kai's lost to Moreno. And I just think he's lost to Albazi, even though it's a very, very close fight. And a lot of people would fight. But yeah, I think this will actually tell us a huge amount about Steve Erceg. And maybe not so much about Kai. I think we know who Kai is. But if Steve Erceg gets the win here, I think that's a real feather in his cap and would be his best win to date by quite a way, actually, I think.
Do you think he's the youngest Steve in the world? Steve's is an old man's name, isn't it? Like, Steve's are like, people my age are called Steve. My dad's called Steve. And I just kept saying Steve. And I was thinking, well, obviously I was thinking Steve Carell, but I was also just thinking, he's either, like, that's a really odd name for a young man. I think he's only like 28, something like that.
I'm trying to think if I know any young Steves. I know a Steve my age, but obviously I'm 10 years older than Erceg.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, I can't think of any. There's no kids in my kids' classes called Steve or Stevie or anything like that. No. Well, there you go, fans. You can Google that. Is Steve Erceg
Hashtag young Stevens.
Young Steve. Is Steve Erceg the youngest Steve in the world? That's something that all MMA fans need to know. We need to band together and do some kind of survey, some kind of census where we will work out the youngest Steve on the private. In terms of fight styles, I mean, it's kind of like, can Steve Erceg avoid Kai's power? I do think Steve can get clipped. Like, he's got a good chin, I think, Steve Erceg, but he can get clipped, and Kai's got very, very good power. And I'm not sure if Kai's fought a guy as kind of rangy and long as Steve. He's fought, oh God, who's the guy that left? I want to say, not Amosov, Askarov. He fought Askarov, who's again like kind of long, kind of rangy guy, but he was more of a wrestler, Askarov, whereas Steve can wrestle, but I think he's more of a striker and a boxer. So yeah, so this will be really interesting to see how they deal with each other's style. And as I say, for me, this will really answer a few questions about Steve Erceg, and it will make me go, I either just like Steve Erceg, or Steve Erceg could be a really, really strong contender over the next few years and could even get the strap. So yeah.
Seems like a nice dude, man.
Oh, really? Like, we tried to interview him a while ago, but dates just never matched up. But hopefully we can get Steve on the show at some point. So I do like Steve Erceg a lot. He seems like a very cool guy.
There's someone we have had on the show, Dan Hooker.
Dan Hooker, yes, we've had Dan Hooker on the show. Love Dan.
Of course we had to. You had a crush on Dan Hooker for years now, man.
I have. I was really upset when he fought Arnold Allen. I was like, oh no, not my two.
Can't be dealing with that.
Boys. Can't be dealing with that. My two best friends fighting each other. Yeah, Gamrot Hooker. I'll worry into Hooker on this one. I just don't know how he keeps it on the feet. I know he's not a bad wrestler, but he's not really a wrestler. And Gamrot is an elite wrestler. He's very, very good. He's got a win over Sarukian and lost but just to Benil Dariush, from what I remember. A very good wrestler, Mateusz Gamrot, and I can see this going the way of Dan Hooker, Islam Makhachev, where he just got him down quick and finished him. I think it's a possibility. I hope not. I'd like to see a really good fight. I'd like Dan to be able to keep it on the feet, and then we see what's what. And, you know, Hooker on the feet is trouble for anyone.
Apart from Arnold Allen.
That legend with his muscular, beautiful back. But yeah, I mean, he got that great win over Jalen Turner, didn't he? Dan Hooker. So yeah, I just think Gamrot's the big favourite here. I think stylistically, it's a fight that is sort of tailor-made for him. If Hooker wins this, that'll be phenomenal, and he shoots up the ranking to fifth, and I don't think anyone would be expecting that.
Do you know what? I'm just going through Dan's resume. What's he win over Jalen Turner? And obviously, I'm just looking at his losses. So Arnold Allen, Islam, Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier. I mean, there's no shame in them.
No.
And, he's fought so many Paul Felder, Quinter, James Vick, Edson Barbosa, Big Gilbert Burns, Jim Miller,
Did he
Mark
lose
Casey.
to Barbosa?
Yes, he did. Body shot.
He did lose.
Round 3,
Yeah.
Yair Rodriguez. Like, he's fought everyone. Like,
he's that guy, and he's like, he probably hates this. My brain's not working probably, but he hates to be kind of referred to as maybe like a sort of Donald Cerrone type, because he might think of himself as more talented. But like when Dan Hooker's on the card, you're like, yes, love a bit of Dan Hooker. Never be a champ, but I love a bit of Dan Hooker.
Yeah.
So I think he is that guy. He's the new kind of Cowboy Cerrone, which again, I don't know how much he would enjoy that comparison. But if you're Mateus Gamrot, how far away are you from a title shot if you win? Because he's not exciting people massively, is he? He's not got the personality that people are gravitating towards. I think he'd be a fantastic stylistic fight for Islam because it would play out on the feet, but I do think Islam would be a much better striker than him. I think the same thing of Sarukian, even though he's got a win over Sarukian. That was slightly controversial in itself, that win. But I'm sorry, I feel Mateus Gamrot, what's he on, like a 3 or a 4 fight win streak now?
Dos Anjos, Fiziev, Jalen Turner, 3 fight win streak. Before that, he lost
3 fight win streak. And he lost to Benil. And again, no shame in losing to Benil. And before that, he was on a win streak as well. Like, he's probably, like, what's he, like, 1 lost in the UFC? No, 2, Kutataladze, didn't he, in like his UFC debut. So he lost his debut, then went on a 4 fight win streak, then lost to Benil Dariush. And then he's on a 3 fight win streak. I mean, the Fiziev one was an injury, sure, but he is very, very good. And he doesn't get the sort of praise and fanfare that maybe he deserves. But if you beat Dan Hook and you're on a 4 fight win streak there, I mean, unless someone like a Gaethje takes a step back and fights him, I don't really know what it is that you're going to do.
Well, we've said before, haven't we? That top 5, he's chock-a-block. Like with people that don't really want to fight contenders. They want to fight super fights.
But it was that. But then
you got Armin in there.
But then Charles Oliveira fought Arman Sarukian. Before that, Justin Gaethje fought Fiziev. Dustin Poirier's fought Benoit Saint-Denis. So I don't think we can say that anymore. So, but now Dustin's going to have a break. He's not going to fight Gamrot. Justin maybe will fight Gamrot, but I don't think he'd like to. Charles Oliveira obviously lost to Sarukian, so maybe he'll have to fight Gamrot. Maybe that's the fight. Maybe you've got to do Gamrot versus Charles Oliveira, and if he beats Charles Oliveira, he'll be ranked 2nd, and then maybe he's the next guy up. I mean, at one point, he was the backup fighter, wasn't he? He was the backup fighter for Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira too. And then Oliveira went out, and they went, "Oh, sorry, Gamrot, I know you're the backup fighter, but we're going to call Volk." But that's how much they thought of him, or how little they thought of him. They thought so little of him that they were like, "Oh, no, we'll call Volk on 12 days' notice rather than have the backup fighter, Mateus Gamrot, here." Like that, that's not great, is it? That doesn't give you much confidence that a title fight is on the horizon.
No, that sort of shows the UFC's interest in him, I suppose. But I don't know. You put on a big win, and you put Dan Hooker out of there. I don't know. I don't know.
I think he needs to do it quick.
Yeah.
I think he needs to do like what he did to Jeremy Stevens, or like what Islam did to Hooker, where he just gets him down, Kimura, boom, done. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's what it needs to be, and then he needs to have a good moment on the mic. Because Islam's injured. Apparently he's formed some ligaments or something in his hand. So, and UFC 307 is looking a little bit shit. UFC 307 is going to be in Utah at high altitude, which I think a lot of fighters are like, "Oh, I'm not sure about that." We've got this fantastic card, UFC 308, headlined by Holloway and Topuria. But UFC 307 before that, at the moment, is looking like Pennington v. Pena as the main event. I know. Kayla Harrison's on the card against Ketlin Vieira, and obviously the smart thing to do would be to, if Kayla Harrison wins, which you would think she would do, you get her straight into the cage after Pennington Pena to square off against the winner. That makes sense. That's building another fight. Makes sense. But Jose Aldo's fighting Mario Bautista. Sure, I love a bit of Jose, but I mean, is that doing that much in Utah? Again, the place where Jose fought fucking Merab when he shouldn't have done, when he should have been going for the belt at that point or whatever. And obviously being at altitude, Merab just swarmed him. You know, maybe an interim title fight would happen. Maybe you see
interim against Sarukian.
Yeah.
Rematch.
I mean, it's a rematch. Sarukian might want that back because Gamrot won it by a slightly controversial decision. So maybe if you're Sarukian, but if you're Sarukian, you obviously want the main belt. You want, you know, you might not have to wait too long if it's just a small hand injury or whatever. But the UFC put interim titles on for less. I know being injured for just a little bit doesn't merit Islam having to put up with someone getting an interim belt, but the UFC do it all the time. We've seen interim belts be created and then champions stripped or not get to fight the champion, and all these things. Would not surprise me if they did something like that, because that card definitely needs some help. It's not the best card at the moment. If you're American and you're paying $80 for that card, you're just going to say, no, I'm all right. So, yeah.
I mean, what else? We're just looking down the card now.
Sylvester Rosenstrike, Bam Bam's on a 4-fight losing streak. It's not great. I mean, look, it was to Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich, Volkov, who's looked great lately, and Tybura. I mean, a loss to Rosenstrike would that be the worst name on that run if he ends up on a 5-fight losing streak?
Yeah, well, in the current climate, yeah. But, and what's interesting is the fighters, you know, that he's lost to, a lot of them are not even wrestlers. Like, they're strikers. And
yeah, I mean, Volkov did wrestle him, and obviously Tybura wrestled him. But yeah, Gane and Pavlovich.
And that's when you want to see Tatu Avasa in a slugfest, but got put away. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Whenever I see Ty making that ring walk, I get hyped up. Like, just because he's a character, he's a dude. And am I that fussed about this fight? I'm sure if I watch it live, it'll be the first fight on the card that I'll be like, yes. Like, and see him walking out. Because like you say, it's got no implications or anything, but it's a fun fight because Ty's in fun fights, and it'd be great to see this be a real slugfest in Australia and him get the win. Yeah,
I mean, the last time Ty went to a decision was in June of 2019. So, that's 5 years without a decision now. Losses and wins, but all within the distance. So you would imagine against Jairzinho Rosenstrike, who is a striker as well, he's an accomplished kickboxer, he's very good. Someone's probably getting knocked out on that one.
And that's what you want, right?
Well, not if you're them.
No, but as fans, of course, you want a big KO, don't you? You want a shoey, then
I want to see a shoey, man. I want to see a shoey on top of the octagon. Long overdue, 4-fight losing streak. Let's get Ty a win, and let's just see him have some fun scraps at heavyweight. Right. I'm sure there's another fight on the main card. It's probably Li Jingliang versus Prates.
Yeah.
I have not a lot to say about it. Like, I'm going to use the excuse of I'm in Budapest and I've had to get work done and stuff, so I've not been researching as much as maybe I would do on other cards. But there's not a huge amount to talk about with the rest of this card as far as I am concerned.
No,
I'm trying to look at Prates, I think, is on quite a win streak.
It's I'm always up watching Lee fight, and I'm sure it'd be fun. And obviously before that,
Yang brings it.
And I mean, Junior Taffa, we know that if he don't turn up, it don't matter. His brother will just step in there. Love that. We need someone that sort of looks a bit like my brother. Yeah, I do.
I mean, he's someone that, if he fights wrestlers, it's probably not going to go too well for him. But if he fights people that will strike with him, he will do all right.
Fight a Brazilian.
Walter Walker.
What a good name.
Why? That is a great name, Walter Walker. But when do you get Brazilians called Walker? Is he related to Johnny Walker? Like, that to me does not sound like a common Brazilian name. Maybe I'm wrong. But Walker, to me, he's got to be some relation of Johnny Walker, isn't he?
No. I mean, I'm not sure. His nickname, the Clean Monster. I mean, what does that mean?
The Clean Monster. Well, he showers, but he fucks you up.
Like, yeah,
he's the Clean Monster.
You think as like, he's choking you out, you can just think, well, that's Lynx Africa. So clean. Yeah, I mean, he's 6'6". He's a big boy.
Yes, 11-1. Lost his UFC debut, which happens to a lot of great fighters. Going to be interesting. Junior Taffa, probably better watch out. KOs, TKOs, decisions, rear naked choke, ground and pound. This guy seems to be able to do it all, so we'll have to wait and see. It doesn't. Just looking at the records makes me worry for Junior Taffa a little bit, but Abe Taffa's got power, and he's a fun fighter when he gets going, so we'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Just probably lastly, really, through the card, Scotland's Casey O'Neill. He's fighting Luana Santos. Is this do or die?
Has there been I thought she was facing, was it Teresa?
I've got Luana Santos here.
Where are you looking?
Tapology.
I reckon there's been a pullout.
I will tell you if there has.
Yes, cancelled. Bleda withdrew. Teresa Bleda was supposed to be fighting Casey O'Neill. And she pulled out. So now Casey O'Neill is fighting Luana Santos.
So coming off the back of a loss to Lipsky and before that to Jennifer Meyer, is this shit or bust for Casey? She got to get a win.
I don't think it's shit or bust because she's still ranked 50. I mean, in terms of like her career, it's sort of a must win. But I don't think she'll get like cut or anything like that. She'll be on a 3-fight losing streak. I don't think that they'll be desperate to get rid of her. So yeah, I mean, Luana Santos is on a 3-fight win. She's on a 5-fight win streak, but 3 in the UFC. I think looking back though, her wins aren't fantastic. Shana Dobson, Lara Fritzen, Antonina Shevchenko, Roxanne Modafferi in a split. Like before that, she was winning by stoppages, which is what I thought people would get very excited about. But then she's lost to Jennifer Meyer. She fought for a belt. No real shame in that. Ariana Lipsky.
Well, then finishes are probably stopped because all of a sudden the competition's getting a lot better. And
So I don't know. It will obviously be really bad for the career for Casey O'Neill to lose this one. However, I don't think she'd get cut, but who knows?
And I mean, speaking of people being cut, just before we wrap things, PFL coming out and just saying, Mohamed Makayev? No. Oh, that guy? No. Like,
he's not in their weight classes.
No, well, obviously they've not got that division, have they?
I think also Makayev's made it quite clear that he only really wants to fight in the UFC, or he's not going to go PFL, or something like that. So maybe they're now going, oh, you don't want us, we don't want you. So like that.
But the UFC don't. And so, I mean, he teased a picture of some gloves, didn't he? And I wonder...
What, so the UFC gloves?
No, you couldn't see what the gloves were. I don't know if he's one. Would he go to one? I don't know.
Maybe. I think they'd have smaller fighters. He could go to one.
Right.
I think one seems to be doing more Muay Thai than anything else at the moment. Maybe Octagon, maybe KSW. I don't think he'd go somewhere like Cage Warriors or something like that. I think he'd feel like he should be at a bigger promotion.
I think Octagon, like there's a lot of fighters from Europe in that, and it's very big, isn't it, in Germany and such. And
they put on big shows in big sellout arenas and all that kind of stuff. They do very, very well, Octagon, with that kind of stuff. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't know.
So interesting, man.
I wonder if it's interesting. I do think we'll see him back in the UFC at some point. I think the UFC are just saying, you need to fix a couple of things outside the cage, whatever it is, and then come back, because he's on a 7-fight UFC win streak. He should really be the number one contender for the belt. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes somewhere else for a year or two, wins whatever belt he'd be competing for there, and the UFC bring him back in. I think, and also he'll be more mature. He's only 23, 24 years old. Like,
he's got to get a highlight reel in outside of the UFC to come back.
Maybe.
Look when they bring MVP in. You look when they brought Chandler in. It was just like, here's your highlight reel. You got Muhammad Mokaev having more fights like he's been having in the UFC, and it's just like, why is anyone that bothered about him coming back?
Yeah. Oh, God. It sucks to be Mokaev at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, none of us saw that coming, and that was just like,
no.
But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out. But before that, obviously, this Saturday going down in Perth, we've got some ace fights for you. Anything else you want to add to the episode, mate?
No, mate, I'm good. I'm going to go and try and find some food in Budapest.
Nice. Well, you have fun, mate. And thanks ever so much for listening or watching. Like I say, when Blake's finished his film, we'll be back in the studio bringing you the usual format, and hopefully we're going to get some fighters in. We've been talking about post Manchester, we're trying to catch up with some of the people that fought there and getting them to pop in the studio for a catch up. And anywhere else that you'd like to see us interview, why not drop us a message on the socials, or tag us a message on a post or something about who you'd like to see us chat. More importantly, if you can find any Steves under the age of 29, please let us know. If you're a Steve and you're under 29, get in touch. We need to put this to bed.
If you are about to have your first child, or any child, you must name it Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. PH or VEN, whatever you choose. Doesn't matter.
Whatever you want. We don't, no prejudice here.
Absolutely. Right, we'll see you next time. In the meantime, go check out Ferocious Fightwear, go check out Fat Candy, and if you're not following us on TikTok, then go and do it now. Bye.
Bye.